Hey everyone, and welcome to the Open Minds podcast, where we try to open each other to different perspectives and remain open-minded to all incoming thoughts and opinions. I'm Cole.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Niral.
And we're high school seniors from outside Philadelphia. While listening, we hope you guys keep an open mind with us.
In a world that's too closed-minded, we're here to help you open yours, 'cause we're the Open Minds.
So, after my topic last episode about college, you got some pretty devastating news on the 31st.
Yeah.
So all three of us are currently sitting on wait lists from New York University.
We are.
Which is actually so funny that we were talking about college acceptance stuff, and then we all got the same result.
Yeah.
Or you've known.
I've known since, because I ED'd earlier, because I really like the school. I ED'd and then I got put on the wait list. But I got news as well, and I got denied from USC. So rejected.
I saw who was it? Kobe Bryant's daughter got into USC.
Did she?
Yeah.
Good for Kobe Bryant's daughter.
How talented is this little Bryant? Or is she carrying the name legacy?
I don't know.
Who knows? I'm sure she's talented.
Yeah, I'm sure
she got in.
I'm sure she's talented, but I'm sure that last name helped her out a little bit.
USC is so difficult to get into, though. The film school is 2% acceptance rate.
Insane.
In the rejection letter, they said out of 71,000 students, only 3,200, or 71,000 applicants, only 3,200 they could accept.
It's a crazy number. It's just an absolute mad number. I'm trying to think if I received any other news. No, I think it was just NYU.
Yeah.
List.
It's crazy to think, though, that this is the end stretch. This is the final stretch right here. We have 1 more month, 2 more months, and done into college.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. If we get on the wait list, I know I'm gonna accept the place on the wait list from NYU.
Yeah,
it might take longer. So
yeah,
still.
I'm starting to think how many people are on that wait list, because I'm on the wait list.
I don't know either.
You guys are.
That was crazy, and we are 3 very different students.
Very different students.
So I really have no idea. What school do you apply to? The Arts and Science now?
No, Stern.
So all 3 of us applied to different schools.
Yeah.
Maybe that makes sense though.
What did you apply to? The Arts and Science.
I'm a politics major.
Oh yes. So we're at different school. We applied to 3 different schools, and we each got
on the wait list for 3 different schools.
Wow.
That's really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
I hope that's not a bad sign that they're putting everybody on the wait list, because they're not going to know how many people.
Anybody else. A lot of people, in the Twitter replies, were you looking at those?
Bestie.
Everybody was getting denied, and everyone was like, "Bestie, you accidentally sent me a rejection letter, bestie."
You know what's hilarious is you showed me the tweet where the NYU admissions team.
They're funny. Whatever intern is running that account,
they're hilarious. They posted Sunbeam with SpongeBob or something, and it's kind of weird. Everybody's calling me bestie
it was
today.
Mr. Crab. Yeah.
That's funny. I'm trying to think. So before we'll get into it, but I just want to say one quick thing. I plan to enroll University of Pittsburgh on April 6th at 7:01 after I get rejection from State University. How about you guys have any plans?
I am. So I'm going to visit SCAD in a week or 2 weeks. It's the weekend of the 17th, whatever that is.
SCAD is the Savannah College of Art Design.
Yeah, and so I'll commit there, and I'm excited to see it in person. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure right now. It'd either be Pittsburgh or the Steve Institute of Technology, which is in Hoboken. Either one of those 2 right now.
Yeah, but if I hear back from the wait list that I'm on, then things would change in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
So
I am on the wait list for Georgetown, but I think even if that changes, Georgetown has been my number 1 the entire time, and it's so crazy to think that even if that happens, I'm still going to go to Pitt. I don't want to be crushed by student debt the rest of my life.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially because I want to go. I think. Do you want to go? You guys want to go to grad? I think you do. Graduate school.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to graduate school.
I'm kind of on the edge. I'm open to it, but I'm not going to give a definite.
Mm-hmm. So it's just not worth it as of now. But it is so crazy to see how this process has changed. And since the beginning, I was like, well, I'm just going to go into crazy debt if it means I get to go to the school of my dreams. But I'm well, I can still do that if I just get my undergrad somewhere.
Exactly.
And then not even somewhere. I do really like Pittsburgh.
It's a nice school.
It is
definitely a nice school when I saw it. So,
but yeah, fun little admissions update. I think that'll be it's over 1 week until it's over. This whole process is over.
Oh my God! Yeah, you hear back on the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Yeah, same.
And you'll hear back from everyone on the 6th, right?
Just one, Columbia.
Columbia.
And that's the final one you have to hear back from?
Are you
Okay.
optimistic?
Absolutely
I'm
not.
not even a little bit optimistic.
Wait, so your birthday is in less than a week?
It's exactly 7 days.
Oh, a week and a day. Oh, okay.
Cole
Yeah.
does this really funny, quirky joke where he thinks my birthday is on the 8th and then he thinks it's on the 10th, even though it's on the 9th. And I
it's
don't
not.
appreciate it in any capacity.
What is the ninth? What is that? It goes 7, 8, 10. Your birthday's either on the 8th and the
Guys,
10th.
I know at home,
really don't
I know at home
remember.
you're screaming laughing right now, but please put a straight face back on. 'cause we're
Niral,
gonna
when's
get
your
to some
birthday?
serious topics.
July, June something?
June 30th.
June
30th.
30th. Okay.
I can't believe you're still 12.
I'm actually 11.
Oh, sorry.
So-
Can you believe he's going to graduate as a 16-year-old?
I can't even a little bit. Like
That's
not
crazy.
even a little bit.
Oh, this is why Niral hasn't seen anything, is because he's younger
I
than
still got
us.
2
You're
years,
still waiting
yeah.
to see.
You're still waiting
you can't
to
get
see
in the
everything.
theaters.
Should we do that? Should we play Niral? What has Niral not seen today?
Yeah, that'd be a good little.
Oh.
I have it up right now, so let
Perfect.
me...
So, if anybody doesn't know, Niral has just consumed such limited media.
I feel like that's a
limited
lot.
mainstream media that, I mean, at least media that Cole and I value in
Yeah.
his life. And it has been a running joke that he just like hasn't seen anything. And there's like, it went from being a joke to being like a really sad truth.
No.
Yeah.
I think we give 2 today, and then we can start picking that. We can just start.
we give 2 each?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to start, and then we'll just kind of go down the list.
Yeah. So I am gonna do that one.
Okay, yeah, go for number 1.
So Niral has not seen maybe one of my favorite movies of all time.
Well, maybe he's seen these. We have to ask him. These are just a list of things that maybe he's seen. I don't know if he has.
I think he hasn't seen this one.
Let's go. Let's
The
see.
Dark Knight by Christopher Nolan.
Oh, no, I have not.
It's, I mean, crazy you haven't seen that movie.
Perhaps the best superhero movie.
See,
of all
my
time.
question to you is, when did you have the time to watch these movies?
I grew up watching The Dark
So there's
Knight.
also 24 hours in a day, right?
I understand.
7 days in a week,
I understand.
365 days in a year.
I understand.
It's like
But what
so
age?
much time.
What age did you watch
So-
that
It's like
movie?
very much.
So
I've seen this movie maybe 14 times.
Yeah. There was never
It's like 2.5 hours.
There's never one time where I watched it for the first time because it came out in 2008 and we were 5.
Exactly.
But my brothers loved it so much because they were born in the 90s, so they watched it, and it was just, I feel like it was always playing throughout time in my life.
See, that never happened for me because
Okay.
I was 4 when it probably came out,
Mhm.
and nobody in my family likes Batman or like loves
Uh-huh.
it, so it just never happened.
Well, you gotta watch it. You know what? Maybe we'll do that for a topic one time. We'll have you watch The Dark Knight.
So I don't even know because I don't have older siblings, but I think I had like a weird phase, probably from like 4th grade to 6th grade, where I would just buy movies and watch them, like all DVD movies. Like I wouldn't even like rent them; it would be
wow.
all DVDs. And I just like consumed so much like superhero media, and it was that movie is going to take the cake.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, here's number 2. Ready for this? The Godfather.
No, I have not seen that either.
You haven't seen The Godfather?
I think-
Oh my god!
Jake, you haven't seen it either, right?
I've seen part 1.
You've seen part 1, yeah. So see, look at Jake.
Yeah,
He's on
you're
top
with
of
me.
it too.
You're with me.
No, he's on top of
No,
it.
no, no.
He's watched it.
I'd
But not
say
all of it.
Part,
Okay.
Well, no. Part 1, like
There's 2 movies.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought there was like parts in the movie.
No.
No.
Man, that
Okay.
almost speaks even more to the capacity of which I've seen.
No,
seen
there's
these movies.
The Godfather's a trilogy, literally considered probably widely as one of the best movies of all time.
Mhm.
So you definitely have to get.
I think it's
on
like
top of
one of my mom's favorite movies was The Godfather.
that. It's amazing. It's really good. Just everything about it. Like it's slow and like it's there's a lot of.
I'm looking at these names that calls on here, and I'm praying he's seen like the rest of them.
I've
but I
seen
think-
all of them.
I'm praying Niral has seen the rest of them.
Oh. Actually, I
think-
haven't seen all of them.
I think I'm going to be
but-
dangerously disappointed.
Okay, let's try number 3.
Okay. Avengers Endgame.
Oh yeah, of course I've seen that.
Okay.
I saw that with you.
He did see that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
do
remember.
remember
We
that.
like this is pre-COVID, everybody. We literally got like almost our entire grade to like fill a theater. Right?
Mhm.
Do you remember what it was like 30 kids?
Yeah.
And we go to a very small school. It was like
You guys
56
didn't go,
kids
though.
a grade.
I didn't go that day.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's so awkward. When did you go? When did you see it?
I saw it 2 days
2 days
later.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I saw it again in theaters. I was like, I have to see this again. And we were in the theater, me, you, and Jack, and we saw 2 other Devon kids
Yeah.
like randomly
Oh,
there, and we were in the front row.
Yeah.
How-
We didn't have the best
Such
seats,
an
but it was
amazing,
okay.
Yeah.
we had really good seats the first time because
We
we
did.
booked the tickets like what months in advance.
It was the day of the tickets were open, and immediately I texted my friend and I was like, get the tickets now. Like, they're out. Holy crap. This was like the biggest like event of my life. Like, it was.
This
it was
makes
crazy.
me miss theaters so much.
Me too. That theater experience is unlike any theater experience I've ever been in.
Yeah.
And
Because
and you-
people were like roaring like lions.
Yeah. Have you seen the reactions on YouTube?
No.
Dude, it's crazy. You know the scene, spoilers for Avengers Endgame, when Cap
Spoilers.
lifts.
If you haven't seen Avengers
Yeah,
Endgame,
it's
by
2
now-
years.
If you
Yeah.
haven't seen Avengers Endgame by now, you're done. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
It's like you can deserve to get the movie spoiled to you.
Yeah, but spoilers, I don't even want to spoil it for just the people who are listening, but there are scenes where people will like, it's like a football
Yeah.
stadium.
That's what
People
it
are
is.
screaming because of how
It's
it's
like
just.
a football game for losers. That's what I'd say.
Okay. All right. Number 4, Harry Potter.
No, I haven't seen Harry
my
Potter.
I do know you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it until this year.
Yeah,
And
but
it
you
quickly became.
Have you guys read Harry
It quickly
Potter?
became my life for a week.
I haven't read Harry Potter.
I would watch like hours of like theory videos.
Yeah.
With every spell.
I remember you
cast.
came to me one time and you were like, Harry's related to Voldemort. I was like, Jake, what?
I kind of thought it was an interesting video, but
no, it
quickly
wasn't
dismissed
interesting.
it as garbage.
I'm sorry, I just wasn't a fan. But so I guess that's where we'll end it today. We'll pick this segment up later.
Those aren't
but
big movies to me, though.
What?
Those
Harry
aren't
Potter-
big movies. Too?
Harry Potter's the biggest one, I would say.
The Dark Knight.
Godfather and Dark Knight, those are very small
I'd argue they're
movies.
bigger than Harry Potter.
No, I'd say Harry Potter. I think it goes The Godfather, Harry Potter, and The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is a big movie, but like it's not the Godfather trilogy, and it's not Harry Potter.
I think Harry Potter is like a very like medium amount of fans that are constantly there. You know
Very
what I
much
mean?
not true. I think Harry Potter fans are everywhere, lurking in the shadows.
I feel there are a lot of people who don't like. I feel like
Like
there's certain
colleges
fan
have
bases-
like Quidditch teams.
True, but I feel like
That's
they're.
not normal.
Yeah.
I love Harry Potter. I just feel like there are less people that have seen Harry Potter than have seen The Dark Knight.
We're gonna disagree there.
I have no idea.
I don't know. Maybe we'd have to do a survey or something to really tell. But all right, we'll pick this up next time. What has Niral not seen today? Apparently, it's everything. So
Yeah, it's really just so sad.
I'm not going to take this slander, by the way. I feel like I've seen a lot of things. It's just that the mainstream things I haven't seen.
That doesn't matter to me then.
What do you mean?
I'm sorry, that's not.
Niral, what's your favorite movie franchise?
Yeah,
Do
go
you
for it.
have one?
Favorite movie franchise? I was like, I would say Avengers.
What's your
That's
favorite movie of all time?
My favorite movie of all time? It's close. I on Cole's recommendation, I watched Inception.
Yes.
That's up there for me.
Let's
I think it's
go.
probably number 1 or 2. And I recently watched a like really good documentary kind of movie called The Trial of the Chicago 7. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
Instantly was like one of my favorite things I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah, that's what we just watched was Perks of Being a
Oh
Wallflower.
my god,
And it's
so good.
It's amazing. It's one of the most personal and like real stories about high school. I don't really like high school coming of age movies because they're all so
I
cliche.
don't even know how to call it. Yeah, it is basically.
But this one's not like any of the others. Like it's so good. It's
the whole
so
thing
personal.
felt like it could totally be happening. Like it just felt like a real movie.
Yeah, there were so many little things you would relate to.
Mhm.
So I reckon whoever has not seen that, who's listening right now, watch Perks of Being a Wallflower. Watch Inception. That's probably my favorite, or one of my favorites. And what was the one you just said?
The Trial of the Chicago 7.
Watch that. Yeah,
It's a
those
great
are our
movie.
3 movie
Yeah,
recommendations
those are.
for
We're gonna
today.
put it up there today.
All right.
All right, let's spin the wheel.
Spin of the wheel.
Hopefully it's not me
Like
this time.
spin of the wheel.
We'll see.
I really don't want to go first. Like vehemently. I think I'm gonna go first. Ugh. Let's go. Cole Nicholas Kelly. Your middle name is
Cole
Nicholas. Your first name
All
is
right, it is moi aujourd'hui.
Okay. We're not going to put French in this podcast.
I thought you'd actually want to do that.
On
but-
va pas mettre le français dans cette podcast.
D'accord. My topic for today is religion. I thought maybe we just kind of discuss like what our views are on religion and
It's currently during the scourging on Good Friday.
oh, it is Good Friday right now, so it's almost perfect to talk about this. But I guess we can kind of start off by just going around and seeing like what all of our views are first off
Yeah.
on religion. So, Niral, do you want to start?
Yeah, so I am brought up in a Hindu family, but increasingly, like as I've like grown up, I have kind of been like, I wouldn't say I've shifted toward agnosticism and like not being like, I would say I'm not 100% sure on if the idea of God is actually real, or like I would say, you know what, I'm more sure than I am not sure that God's real,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still on the fence. So I don't know.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I'm agnostic, but I'd say I love the concept of Jesus Christ. And like, so I've literally been in Catholic school since preschool.
Yeah.
And like throughout elementary, middle school, and now I'm in a Catholic high school. And I was raised Roman Catholic. It was a huge part of my childhood. But I think I love the idea of Jesus Christ and like the idea of unconditional love, but I absolutely despise the Catholic Church and its like kind of institutional discriminatory practices. And like I think like any human interference on religion is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I think that human interpretation of God can only lead to like worse things about God. And that's what I think the Catholic Church has done in the entirety of its existence.
Yeah, it's similar for me. I was raised Roman Catholic and went to Catholic school. I've been in Catholic school my whole life. And I think the more I've gone to Catholic school, people say this all the time, like the less Catholic I've become. So I would describe myself similarly to you, Niral, as an agnostic. I'm pretty definite. I think you're a little unsure, right? If there is something, I'm pretty definite that there is something. I don't know what it is, but I think there is a higher power. But I just don't know what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think my views kind of gone from, I don't know, deism. Do you guys know deism? Like God being there, but not being involved. I kind of subscribe to that also. Like if there is God, I don't think he's involved in everything that we are.
Oh my God, I agree with that so much. I feel like that I doubt prayer a lot because I feel like we kind of live in like a free world. Like I feel like God set up the blueprints for the universe and then he's letting everything happen. And so I doubt prayer a lot. Like why would God intervene to help one person because they're praying to him and then not help another person, even though they are praying as well?
No, what I think is really interesting about kind of your interpretation of religion is you were raised like polytheistic.
Yeah.
And you've shifted to monotheism, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How has that shift kind of happened in your life? Do you think it has been being a Catholic school? Or do you think it's just your the way that you've interpreted religion?
No, I think it's the way I've interpreted religion. I've always like questioned, like I've had like multiple times, even when I was younger, when I was questioning my dad about like why do we believe that? Why do we believe that? Like why are there 7 different gods for that one thing? It kind of never really clicked with me. But I would say maybe Catholic schools kind of further that along. But I think I was on like my interpretation was kind of already at that point.
Yeah. What is like the general principles of Hinduism? Because I don't know as much.
Yeah, there are 3 main gods, and there are like multiple other gods. I don't want to say fabricated, but they're almost like Catholic saints in which like people
proxy god type thing,
like prophets,
kind of. What do you mean?
Like a prophet, like just a really
they're
holy.
not people, right?
They're not actually people, but they were like not everybody believes in every god. I would say, people pray to certain gods for certain things, like wealth and other things. But some people like ignore other like gods for like not ignore, but like just don't pray to them as much as other people do, and that's like. I don't know. I feel like that's a knock on polytheism because if like there are 7 different gods, you should be praying to every different god.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was kind of my thing with it. But in Hinduism, there's 3 main gods, and basically, it's a lot more based on nature and like everything around you, spirituality, all that. It's kind of based on everything, and it's reincarnation is a big part of it too.
That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah. So when you die, you are reborn as something that is because of the karma from that previous life.
Interesting.
Okay. So if you lived a really good life, as I think I've heard before, do you not reincarnate?
Yes. So that's a concept called moksha. which is so basically the goal of a human life or like any life is to get out of the circle of birth and death.
Mm-hmm.
And if you live a good life, good spiritual life and all that, then you'll be granted moksha, which means you're out of the circle of birth and death.
Where do you go? Do you go to, is it like just a type of paradise?
It's not paradise. That's one of the questions I asked my dad. It's not really a place. It's just like, I don't know. My dad just kind of described it. It was like you kind of like stop existing, but it's better than being in the circle of birth and death.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's weird. I don't fully understand.
It's more attractive to me than Christianity. Maybe that's just because I'm like hearing it from the general sense.
Yeah, I don't fully understand it, by the way. I'm not.
Yeah, because I feel like any religion in the general sense is appealing. I feel like for Christianity, you can just be like, you're loved. That's the end of the story. Instead of like, no, if you don't go to mass once, you go to hell.
Yeah, that's where I get lost in religion, is all the specifics, and that's where I start to be like, wow, this is bullshit. Like
right now, we're technically committing a mortal sin.
Yeah, can you believe that?
We're in the middle of a scourging, or the scourging, and we're not silent.
Yeah, and we're also doubting too. I feel like people isn't doubting considered a sin in the Catholic Church or something?
I don't think so. If it is, that's mad.
Yeah.
It's absolutely mad.
Absolutely ridiculous. But for example, what really got it for me one time, I say this all the time, but is that like Christianity like has like teaches like ranks of angels and stuff. Like, who told you this?
Yeah.
When did God come down to you and was like, here's rank 1, get your pen and paper out, here's rank 1 of all the angels.
Like, it's also like really, that list is interesting because like what we think would be like the top, like Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, they're the lowest rank.
Really?
Because they spend their time with people, not God. Like the number one rank of the number one rank of angel is I think it's like cherubim or something, because they all they do is praise God. Yeah. And they get to like see God 24/7, so they're regarded as the most elite. Which is crazy. Because like we don't know the name of the cherubim, but we know the name of the archangels. Supposedly, we say we know their name.
Yeah, that is crazy. And you think there'd be proof of them? Like if they are constantly around like people, like we'd see them. Yeah. Or there'd be some sort of evidence for it. Why wouldn't there be?
So this is like kind of just my personal take on religion. I've like developed it through like retreat and stuff like that, and it's very different from like the Catholic perception of religion. But so take the very fundamental idea of Jesus Christ, the fact that somebody is willing to die for you and everything that you have done, like, so whether you believe it was a man in Nazareth 2,000 years ago or not, like completely forget that historical perception of religion, but just like there's something in your life that loves you eternally and will never, and is like unable to stop loving you, and like that is just the very fun. I think that's such like a crazy distinction of religion to make, because there's so many people who like commit suicide, hurt themselves, do so many other things that do it because they don't feel loved. And like I feel like there's so much good that religion can do by saying like you are eternally and unconditionally loved in every aspect of your person. That is like just so, it's just good. Like, and I think religion at the end of the day just has to be good, and it's not sometimes, for the vast majority of cases historically. It's led to violence, like just relations between Islam and Christianity, the Crusades. I know like people bring that up a lot, the Spanish Inquisition, like these huge acts of just pure aggression in the sake of religion, that just goes so fundamentally against what I think is the job of religion. And I mean, the Catholic Church is a multi-billion-dollar entity, and I think they just put money into just the worst things possible, and that's why I am pro the abolition of the Catholic Church, because I think that
that's a huge thing to say.
That's interesting.
Not Catholicism, the entity of the Church. I think they
does that include like the hierarchy, the Pope, the Cardinals?
Yes, 100%.
I'm anti-institutional religion. I'm not I don't know. I guess that would include abolishing the.
Well, maybe not abolishing, but reorienting their work. Like I think these huge ceremonies with incense and like glass and gold, like tabernacles and these chests made of diamond. Like that isn't who Jesus. That goes against the idea of what Jesus perpetuates, which is humility and just constant love, and like the fact that there are people that the church like has led, like has like propagated the oppression of, like, isn't that like just the craziest oxymoron in the entire world?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think we've, it's kind of lost its way in the sense, like, what's a greater service to God than just treating everybody equally every day with love? That's a far greater accomplishment than, I think, like going to mass on Sunday every day, is treating everybody with, the most love that you can. And I agree. I find it so ironic that even in government sometimes, but a system based on Judeo-Christian values does not treat everybody equally, does not treat everybody with love. Like, I mean, the biggest example today is still probably gay people and trans people. Like, the church just does not, like they'll say, like, oh, we love everybody, but then they'll also, like, condemn every single thing they do and look down upon them. It's just ironic.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm kind of with you on, like, the institutional religion is problematic because I feel like it puts people against each other rather than bringing people together. I feel like fundamentally, whatever religion, like whatever thing you believe in, religion is like a sense of hope, and it's supposed to bring you some sort of meaning to your life. And when religion has like these acts of aggression, like Jay was talking about, from like the Crusades to the Spanish Inquisition, kind of takes away from that. And what Jake was saying earlier about how human interpretations of God has made it even more problematic, I completely agree.
Yeah,
I feel like a relationship with God is what religion is, and that should not be institutionalized. That should not be like, my God is better than your God. My God, it means more to me than your God means to you. Something like that. That should not be a part of it. It should just be a sense of hope and a sense of, I have meaning in this life.
Yeah, I very much agree with that. I was just contemplating it even more about what I said about the abolishing of the Catholic Church, and I actually kind of want to backpedal a little bit. I do think that the way the Catholic Church as an organization orients itself is too profit driven and puts money in the wrong places. Like, it's crazy that the church has to pay legal defense against like child molestation. Like, like money goes there. Like, it's just so crazy that happens. But I just want to reiterate that, like, it doesn't, like, by saying that human interpretation of religion is a bad thing does not mean that, like, priests, bishops, those individuals are bad, or their interpretation of religion is bad.
Yeah.
Because we've been surrounded by priests. I've been surrounded by priests my entire life. I don't want to put that on you guys. I'm sure you have. Just because of your Catholic school goal. And I don't know if you've been as much now, but here, we go to Catholic school, and priests teach courses and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
like, they're not like bad people. Like, a lot of the time, I want to hear what they have to say. I want to hear like their takes on religion, stuff like that. And I don't want to paint everything too broad of a brush, because like, they are good people, but I think it just has to do with institutional religion, not like the individuals who perpetuate institutional religion.
Yeah, I would agree. It's all about the institution, and kind of the institution kind of interpreting and writing their own rules. Like you were saying, Niral, I feel like it's the very middleman. The fact that humankind is a middleman between God and the individual, like institutional religion is the middleman there. It has just kind of warped, what religion is or what it should be. We're following man's laws of God. Isn't that kind of weird? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not following God's laws. Mm-hmm. And what kind of disproves, at least the Catholic Church or any Christian denomination for me a little bit, is like the Bible was chosen from like a list of books, and some of them got cut off, and
like
some
the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha is like a list of books that were like deemed unworthy to be in the Bible.
Yeah. And we keep using this
selection. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I feel like the church always just says like, no, the Holy Spirit was guiding these people, and it's like,
we keep using that excuse.
We don't know that. Like, that's why I think in the entire Bible, I like the book of Psalms only because like, they're cool.
Yeah.
like I think they're beautiful. But like the rules of like Leviticus, which say like, if your daughter like eats pork into like those types of laws, like the crazy arbitrary things that were just written by the elders to be able to like enforce religion. I think those are what's just so problematic. And like I think if we just orient religion towards like just the concept of love, not only will it like make the religious so much like happier and okay with their choices, it will also like the church is dying. The church is dying unlike it's ever died historically. Like after, I think in 20 years, when everybody that's like 65 plus kicks it, like who's
that's
going to be
not the
in
best
Matt?
way to say it, but yeah.
Who's going to be in Matt? Like who's going to go? Who's going to pay for everything? It's like it is so crazy, and maybe that'll bring about the change that we need.
Yeah.
But like kids are not going to mass because it is so like the values are changing, societal values are changing. And something that's really striking about my pastor said was, yes, the church will be smaller, but it will be more holy. And I asked myself, I was like, is that what you want it to be? You don't want it to be larger? You can do so much like more good. Like I think if the church just shut up about gay marriage and stop talking about certain things that like are just clearly traditional and outdated and really don't have much of a basis in not only religion but reality, they can just do more good. The church is supposed to be an organization that can do good, and it can if it stops orienting themselves around these traditional outdated values.
Yeah, and that reminds me too of what your priest just said. What was it again? That
it was the church will be smaller, but it will be more holy. Or maybe he said faithful. Yeah,
but that makes me like feel some type of like superiority, like almost like we'll be smaller.
There's a hierarchy. There's a religious hierarchy of like, I only break 2 commandments. How many did you break? Like,
exactly. Like we're going to be smaller, but we're going to be better. You know, like I feel like there's a lot of, especially in Christianity, I assume probably in other religions too, but it's like we're God's people. You know what I mean? Like, and for a kind of system that preaches equality so much, it becomes anti-egalitarian. In that. So it's just super ironic and hypocritical. But also back to the Holy Spirit thing and choosing the books of the Bible. I feel like Christianity just uses this excuse to justify past actions.
And like the Holy Spirit is never really like people take the quotes of Christ. Like also the Gospels were written after Christ died. So it's like quotes from Christ that aren't, they're all secondary. It's so crazy.
Secondary source.
Yeah, it's just so crazy that like
why is it a secondary source?
Because Jesus is dead at that point. Or he's in heaven.
Is dead.
No, but it's like the person who hears it. So if the person who hears it is writing it down, is not a primary source.
It wasn't the people hearing it.
I guess it would be a primary source.
I don't think it was the people
but
hearing
it's less of a source.
I thought it was, I'm going on the assumption that you're talking about the gospel, right? Yeah. So like
James,
Matthew, Mark,
Luke,
no,
John.
James.
No, James. James is not part of it, sorry. James had to go. He was busy.
Are they not around? Were they not around?
No, I don't think I thought they were like the Gospels.
One of them wasn't around. James might not have been around.
James didn't write the Gospel.
I know.
We brought up James. James wasn't a part of it, but Matthew was not an apostle, was he?
Yes, they all were apostles.
I really don't think they were. Luke was not an apostle.
Yes, he was, man.
Look this up. No, he wasn't.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Look it up. You have a computer right in front of you. Please
okay, I'll look it up. Here we go.
For me, I think...
Look up, were the evangelical writers...
Of course they were apostles. Guys, they might not have even been real, so it doesn't matter.
I think one of us better have a rude awakening. I'm hoping it's not me.
Wait, you know what I just found out? That apparently there was a letter from Paul. You know how Paul has his letters? Like writing to these people... Oh, my computer just died. I'm so sorry.
So I'm...
Writing to these people to tell them to use like this certain mixture of drugs and psychedelics this way and not this way. Like apparently he wrote that to some people. So, and one of my friends always says like people were just really high when they wrote the gospel or something.
Okay, so Matthew and John were 2 of the original apostles, but Mark and Luke were not.
Oh, look at you! Nice.
No, we were both right. We got half and half.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
But like when I want to see when the gospels were written. You guys keep talking.
Yeah, but what I meant to say by making that point was that I think.
Okay, John wrote it.
Thank you.
In 90 to 110 AD. So 90 to 100 years after death. Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
They
crazy.
lived till like 30 at that time. What are we talking about?
Yeah. Also, they like in the Bible, people just live like hundreds of years, and there's just no.
No, I think that's
excuse
just
for
like
it.
a story. I don't think that's real.
Well, why would the Holy Spirit? If you're telling me that the Holy Spirit acted through man to pick the books of the Bible, let's go with that. I'll give you that. Why would the Holy Spirit pick a book where God blows up a town because everyone's gay?
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Why would you pick that book?
No idea.
Why would God be like? Because the Holy Spirit's God. Why would He be like, let's do that? It just doesn't make any sense to me, and like you can't justify that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the things I always struggle with is like, there's not much more proof that could be there from 2,000 years ago other than a written word.
Yeah.
You know? So like, I don't want to discount everything because like, I can't expect there to be photographs. I can't expect there to be like,
But you could also
recordings.
just write anything.
I understand, but like, if you have to have some sort of like, if you're
Why
gonna
did the
believe
Holy
in it-
Spirit influence 4 people and not the 5th guy?
Yeah, of course.
Say someone wrote a 5th gospel.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Like, I just don't get it. It's so selective and human interpreted in such a dangerous way.
I also like the infallibility of the Pope when he's on his chair. Like,
Oh yeah.
these are
That
all
is
man's
crazy.
rules. This is man's institution. This isn't God's work.
Yeah.
And it's just so, like, ceremonial. And, like, I feel like God didn't want ceremony. Like, at least the... Like, I hate having to say the Jesus I believe in
Mhm.
because, like, you shouldn't have to make that distinction. Like,
Yeah.
you just shouldn't. But the Jesus I believe in, like, doesn't want any of that, you know? Like, like the story we believe in, like Mary's mother, who was actually 12, and like his father or his stepfather was like a carpenter. They grew up in like poverty, like born in a manger. Like that story of humility, like whether you believe in it or not, like this weird regal sense of religion that's like happened where like priests wear like these cool hats and carry staffs and have these children in white who help them around the mass, like altar servers. Like I just feel it feels so disconnected. It feels like it was built. We did this for like a king 800 years ago, and we haven't changed our traditions.
Yeah, it's sad. Oh, the church needs to modernize quickly because I think especially we look at America, but like America is becoming more atheist.
And America is
recently.
probably one of the most religious countries in the world.
Probably, exactly, yeah. And so, like, the church is, I agree, the church is dying, and they really need to kind of update with the world if they want
And
to
like,
stay around.
I think they do, like you can say we don't want to have to change our values. Like we will not modernize if it means we have to change our values. But like, I think there should be like another council. Like the church can call those councils where like everybody comes to Rome, like they did in like the Second Vatican Council in like the 60s or whatever. I think there should be another one of those, and the church should literally just have the conversation: can we do more good if we like embrace our old traditional values and appeal to this tiny base, or if we modernize and do X, Y, and Z to change, and like weigh the pros and cons of that, and like just do good. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if it would do better if you like switched all of a sudden, because you can't. I'm not saying, of course, that would include more people. Of course, that would do more good for more. Like it would include more people. I just feel like if you have like a sudden switch, like then the past 60 years of your existence were nothing.
It discredits what the church did before, and I agree. But that's another thing that disproves the church is that they've modernized before. How could you change the laws of God?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I don't think that's ever happened,
And that means
I don't
it's
think,
not the laws of God.
I don't think the law, like the in quote laws of God, have ever changed.
I think they have. The Old Testament used to be taken literally. Nowadays, the Catholic Church
But there's still people who
stance-
take it literally.
No, but the Catholic Church used to take it literally. Nowadays, it's taken as a metaphor and it's supposed to be read in light
that is
of
crazy.
the-
That is crazy. But I don't think you have to change your values to modernize. I think because there's good parts of religion.
Yeah.
There are good parts of Christianity, but there are bad parts. And I think you have to stop perpetuating the bad parts and orient yourself to the good. And I think that is enough to like you don't have to change your values to modernize. You can just orient yourselves and like change the way you operate, like to highlight the good.
Absolutely. And it's not, you know what, the church doesn't even have to change their values. They just have to practice what they preach.
Yeah.
They already preach equality and they already preach love, yet they don't practice it to its fullest extent. Again, the biggest accomplishment, I think, is being a good person, not going to Sunday Mass. Why is Sunday Mass a thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to like give not credit, but like give them some commendability because they do give millions and almost I would say
They
hundreds
do.
of millions of people so much hope in life, so much love for life. I don't want to say that they do nothing. You know, I think they do a lot, and I that's why I don't think there's a reason to abolish the Catholic Church or abolish institutional religion
Mm-hmm.
because it does good. I agree that there are very many bad parts that need to be changed,
Mm-hmm.
but I would fundamentally disagree with you if you say that our religion should be personal and like individual. I think there need like I really doubt that institutional religion is doing so many bad things that it takes away from all the good things that it does. You know?
Yeah. Well, I think the church has done good, but I don't think it's the good that you say. I think that religion does give people hope, but I feel for the wrong reasons. I wonder almost if religion had come about, I feel like I've talked about this before, has come about just because, I did talk about this, has come about just so we don't worry about existential thoughts and we can focus on, getting food and doing the things that evolution requires us to do, which is to live and
Oh,
reproduce.
this is a multiverse throwback.
Yeah, that's when we talked about it. That's why I think religion was formed. I think we all took history of the church. That did teach me that the church has done good things in the past. And they've done bad things as well, but they've overcome it and they've tried to continue to do good. So I say like relief and help for the poor, like stuff like that is good. But I don't know. I feel like they just preach. They're lying to everybody, I think. I mean, I know they believe it, but I don't know.
Can you call it a lie?
I guess I can't call it a lie. No, I take that back. I shouldn't say they're lying to everybody, but just the institutional, they don't practice what they preach. They're hypocrites. That's my issue.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's a fair point to make.
Yeah, let's end it there. There's so much. I plan to get to so much more. I didn't know it would last this long. We'll pick it up.
We can bring this up another time.
Yeah, 'cause there's so many like different aspects to it. So
All right. Do we decide a wheel spot or wheel stop?
You know what? I like wheel spot. Oh my god. What do you think, Paul?
I like spot because it's a place to stop.
Same.
A place. It's a spot.
A place to stop. A wheel stop. Okay, continue. Spin the wheel.
So it is my topic next. And my topic, kind of based on a question. Do we believe, or do you guys believe, that it is okay to judge past people in history, with the morals that we have and the norms that we have today?
That's a good question.
Like, give an example of like the founding
Wait,
fathers.
do you want to start with an answer? And then
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Let's start with the answer.
Yes.
Okay. What do you call?
I think I know what I was going to say.
I think yes and no. I think it's like
Mine, I don't. He just said both.
I think it's well, I don't really know, honestly, because part of me is like, how could you ever own like a slave, like the founding fathers? How could you ever do that? Like, they were Christians,
Yeah.
and they preached for equality, but they owned slaves, But then part of me is like, they grew up in that environment, so how can they think any differently?
Yeah.
This kind of goes back. Wow, this is a big throwback episode. We're talking about like kind of like objective morality, like whether
It also goes. This is weird because it connects to nature versus nurture, and it connects to the
It's a
ends
big open
justify the means. Because part of me is like their environment threw it onto them, But then the other part of me is like, I don't really care, Like you're doing one of the worst crimes ever.
Yeah, I think I want to split that question into two further questions. So, using the example of founding fathers, is it okay to say that they're racist? And number two, is it okay to taint their legacy because they were racist or not racist? What do you think?
So I think yes. I think when we had our conversation about objective and subjective morality, I do believe in subjective morality because I think everybody has their own moral system to which they can assess and judge, or not as much as judges, kind of grade the morality of other people and of themselves, more importantly. So I think based on like my morality and like my moral system, the founding fathers are just like racist. Like just the way I like think like of racism. I don't think it matters that they were raised in a time where racism was okay or racism was normalized, because I still think like because there were abolitionists back then. There were people who recognized the humanity of slaves, and that kind of stuff. So like that voice was there, but I think it was easy to ignore it. And I think we're raised in a time where I'm sure there are things like that happening, and I'm sure like in 20 years we will be blind to things that are happening now.
Yeah.
And I still think that I should be like not like judged for it, but that should still be a marker against me as a person, because if I am seeing oppression in my life and I'm not like actively going against it just because I can't recognize it, I still think like I should be responsible for it.
Interesting.
So you say yes to both questions. You think they should
Yeah,
take
like
their legacy?
I think if we just put it into perspective to today, like if there's something happening right now, like maybe the Uyghur people in China, like that could be, like there's literally concentration camps in China right now, and like the fact that I'm not like on a plane like going to liberate people in China right now is like that's obviously extreme, but like think about it, it's still wrong. And I'm sure like I recognize it's wrong. Do I think like there'd be any efficacy to me doing anything about it? No.
Yeah.
But like I'm sure the founding fathers must have recognized the things that we're doing were wrong, but they probably weren't. They didn't have like the efficacy to be able to change it, I guess. I don't know. But like I still think I should be able to be.
So you think like in 20 years somebody would have the right to judge you just because of like using that example?
Well, judge my generation, not necessarily the individual people.
Not the individual people.
Not the individual person.
Okay. That's a distinction.
Maybe. I don't know. I think when you talk about the founding fathers, I think you can paint their entire generation with that brush, but maybe not hate the particular person for it, I guess. Now I'm thinking about it, like, I don't know. It's
that's the part of me that's like, you know, are they responsible for it? But it's never...
I think it's okay to paint a time period with that brush, but not hate individual people. I think that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That would mean you're against calling them racist, would it not?
I think I can call their generation racist and their actions racist.
But not the individuals.
I can't hate them for being racist, but they are racist. Oh my god! This is like so interesting. Now I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
My answer.
Do you know what I mean, though?
I understand what you mean.
I can say they're racist because they were.
Yeah.
But I feel like I can't hate them for being racist as a person. I can hate their actions and their time period.
Yeah.
But not their humanity.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Okay,
He's literally no idea what
all
I'm
right,
talking about.
so 100%, yes, we can call them racist, in my opinion. Like, absolutely. Like, just racism is objective. They follow the standards. And two, I do think it can taint their legacy because kind of helps us realize, one, how far we've come, and two, kind of how far behind they were back then and how almost, you know, not primitive we were then, but I don't know, just the bad things that we did. You know, you can't justify that. The question for me is, are they... individually, should they be held responsible? And that's what I don't know. But even if the answer is yes, or if the answer is no, either way, they're never I'm never going to promote what they did. So because of that, it taints their legacy because I know that anything like slavery is wrong.
Yeah.
And I think like this is another theme of things we've said on this podcast, but good people can do bad things, right? Like these can be good people who promote good values and were very anti-establishment for their time. That is
because they were progressive for their time.
Oh, incredibly.
They were.
But like
still,
obviously progressivism, just by the nature of progressivism, is going to change. It's progressive. And I think also when we start to judge people by the founding fathers by their past actions, I think it can lead to some good things because like I think in this country particularly, we like godify our founding fathers. Like,
you were the one who told me that. I was about to bring that up.
Yeah.
That someone kind of influenced me or told me this idea that is so true in America that we
like worship like George Washington. We have like huge, massive statues. We at the beginning of every day we stand look at a flag with our hand on our heart. Like and like whether you, like I like the Pledge of Allegiance because I do have a pride in my identity as being an American. But like if that was happening in Russia, if that was happening in Iraq.
Oh yeah,
we would think they're crazy nationalists.
Yeah, you're right. And
You know?
when you first told me about that, is you related it to the Romans, and it was like eye-opening to me, because they used to worship emperors like as gods. I wonder in 2,000 years' time if people are going to be like, one of the gods of the American people was George Washington, and it's true because we do glorify these people in history. Like I don't remember ever
as these like massive, regal, beautiful individuals with like beautiful hair that were like and like they're probably like 18 years old with like powder wigs and were like kind of crazy and like couldn't talk. Like he had like wooden teeth. Like these people were not like they were not gods. They were like these crazy people who like killed British people in their sleep.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't remember learning in history too, like the bad sides of the founding fathers. Like they were very much glorified.
Because it's not taught.
Yeah, they're never like to me, Thomas Jefferson raped a slave, right? I don't remember learning that. I mean, I did
Sally
somewhere,
Hemings.
but or like George Washington.
And he
owned
never
slaves,
freed her.
Or,
He literally had an affair with a slave and a daughter and never freed her.
Yeah.
and freed the daughter or the
Neither, I think.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I kind of want to make it more recent as well because I found some articles saying, well, not saying, but it had some quotes from former President Obama in 2006, 2004, around that time when he was the Illinois senator, I believe. He was, I wouldn't say against the gay marriage and gay rights, but he was definitely. He was definitely
anti-gay marriage.
Yeah, he was anti-gay marriage.
What's his name? Joe Biden was the first president to ever enter the office, I think, pro-gay marriage.
Yeah. So
I have. We saw a video on CNN. Me and Jake did of like just politicians on gay marriage throughout time, and literally from the 90s.
It may have been Donald Trump.
I think it was.
I don't know.
It may have been Donald Trump.
Well, Obama in 2012 was.
Yeah, but he was. No, he wasn't.
He was kind of in the middle.
Obergefell was 2015. Isn't that crazy? It was a 5-4 vote.
Wait, I thought gay marriage was legalized in 2010.
I thought it was 2013.
Guys, we have no idea.
We have no idea.
I'll look it up. But it was still a 5-4 decision, which is the craziest thing.
But anyways, what I was saying is we saw this video of politicians on gay marriage throughout time by CNN.
I win 2015. You guys were horrible.
Really? I feel like it's been way longer than that. Can you believe that? It's that recent?
Exactly.
It's been 6 years, and it was one swing vote away. Like, thank God Kennedy was still on the bench.
Yeah, you'd think we'd legalize it.
Oh my God, crazy.
I think we'd have legalized it 30 years ago.
That's my point. So now do we judge all those, like
100%,
Obama
100%,
for not doing that?
100%. Because
Absolutely.
especially like during this time, because like
they're still alive.
Yeah, not only is he's still alive, like the evidence was there. Like the constitutionality was there. The Equal Protection Clause was there.
Yeah.
Like maybe you couldn't blame George Washington because the Equal Protection Clause didn't exist. But like Barack Obama, George W. Bush, like horrible.
Wait,
horrible
but do we instead of like ridiculing them and looking down on them, do we kind of celebrate them for changing their minds? You know what I mean? Because it's not like George Washington in the sense that he always had slaves. I think we'd be condemning him if halfway into his life he was like, oh, what we're doing is wrong. So do we celebrate Obama and, Joe Biden was anti-gay marriage?
I think like almost every figure of like American politics right now is probably anti-gay marriage. Besides, like, I think the only one I know is Bernie Sanders.
Yeah,
that's why like respect his politics or subscribe to his politics or not. That man like has been on the same energy since like 1960.
Yeah, he's he did a very good job with like sticking to his principles throughout time.
So I think the difference between, I would say, like Obama and all these political people today is that the times have changed really quickly and they're able to change with the time.
Yeah.
With George Washington, with the founding fathers, that wasn't really.
Like,
it kind of was
because there's such little recorded information on him besides these regal statues that make him look like a god.
That's true.
Like we hear his like farewell address. Like that's a huge, really famous speech in American politics.
Yeah.
But like, half of it was like written from half of it is like using quotes from the Bible. Like there was no personality in these old speeches. Like we look at the Federalist Papers. And I think a lot of the times people look at that like it's a sacred text. Like people look at the Constitution. It's like when we talk about constitutionality in judicial cases or even congressional acts, we look at it as if it's the Bible, and that is wrong. That is wrong. That is so wrong. Like,
Yeah.
someone was saying when the Electoral College thing happened in 2016, where Hillary Clinton won by 3 million more votes, but lost the college by a pretty significant minority. She lost by. It was the same. It was the same margin that Joe Biden actually won by. It was the exact same number. But like people were saying, like, hold on, maybe these white guys from 1781 didn't come up with the best system ever.
Yeah.
And like we have to recognize that, like, we, the three of us, are smarter than them. We are smarter than the founders.
Oh,
We know.
Oh my God.
We're totally
I can't
smarter
say
than the
that.
founders.
No, I can't say that.
Really?
What?
We
Well,
just know so much more than the founders.
okay.
I feel
But that's okay.
We're
That comes with time.
17. I do not think we
See,
are close
I
to
think-
the philosophical.
we have more context. I wouldn't say we're smarter though.
Yeah, we have more context
But
to learn
we
from
know
history.
More.
Yeah.
We know more than the
No,
founders.
we don't.
Yes, we do. The sheer volume of knowledge has increased so much with technology. We know so much
Humankind,
more.
not us individually.
We're part of humankind. Us,
Yeah, I-
compared to the individuals.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
But like, okay, I wasn't
don't think
expecting
I'm
so much.
smarter than them.
Okay, Cole Kelly. Okay, cool.
Smart is
Get up.
subjective.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
not
that's fine. That's fine. Okay, cool.
We're
Cool
I
story.
feel like we
Let me
can't,
finish what
as
I'm saying. Let me
17-year-old
finish what I'm saying.
kids, you know, as
I'm
very
with you,
young
yeah.
kids and not very mature.
Well, thank you for letting me almost like trying to finish my thought.
How
Thank you
can
for
we
your
say
silence.
we're
You've cut
smarter
me
than the
off, like,
people who
7 times.
founded the country?
Because that's like just what happened. Like, you just people with time, people become smarter. I think we have to stop codifying and worshiping old past
Listen,
individuals.
Jake, I agree with you that we do
Get your hand on my face.
codify and worship them like way too much. This is why I've gone away from constructionism. That's when you strictly believe in the
Constitution. Yeah.
words of the Constitution literally, because what powers were they given by God to write truth? We take this as truth, every word in the document, but literally, like, you know, slavery was, you know, the 14th Amendment preaching equality, or like the first couple words of the Constitution preaching equality. Like, you know, they had slaves back then, you know, it just doesn't.
The 3/5, like the number of 3/5.
Yeah.
The 3/5 clause, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, like, how is that truth? How can we worship, you know, the Second Amendment, but not you know, the,
3/5 clause.
or why would you worship the Second Amendment and not the 3/5 clause? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, you
it's-
can't say, oh, they wrote the best thing here, but not the best thing here.
And
And
like-
so then that kind of leads me to kind of accept that, you know, these guys aren't gods and they don't know everything.
Mhm. And I think like that mentality that this text is truth is what makes it so difficult to legislate on modern matters. Like when we had Mark Zuckerberg and Google CEO testifying in front of Congress,
Yeah.
and you had like just, if you haven't seen that video, go watch that video and you'll move to a different country, because the questions are horrible. But like when we look at what's outlined in the Constitution, what's delineated upon in the Constitution, there is no clause that like counteracts like cyber terrorism. And we have to recognize that, like, okay, this document doesn't have it like everything figured out, and like we have to start like legislating almost like reactionary. Like I feel like so much of how we operate politically, we say like this document should have our issues figured out, and like we have to just lose that mentality, because it is not true. It's outdated.
Mhm.
And these people weren't gods who knew everything.
Yeah, I think it is important to have a constitution, to have something to hold yourself to, a standard and rules, you know, to hold the government to itself. But I just don't think, you know, that's set, because people change, because ideas change and values change throughout time. So how could you have a set document that doesn't change throughout time?
So would you say, well, it's kind of general, but would you say the Constitution is racist?
No.
I think if you're pure, like,
Wait, the original one? Well, it says the 3/5 thing, so yes.
I guess objectively it's racist.
But like,
Wait, like, why does that matter?
Because I'm trying to get to the point, well, are we allowed to
I think that's what we're
judge?
saying. We're saying we shouldn't like codify it as this immaculate text.
yeah.
So it has errors.
Yeah, so I don't know. I came into this like thinking I would be definitely against, like, I don't think you can judge past people with present morals. I feel you can say that they're racist, sexist, homophobic, whatever.
I think that's judging.
That's why I kind of made into two questions. I wouldn't say that like makes them their legacy or what they did worse, because like
So
they were constrained by
I think
time, and I feel like you can't judge their character or that just because, like, if I was back then, I would have been that same person.
That's a good point. But okay, so then maybe we condemn the action and not the person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe we're like, okay, so
episode 2, confronting oppressive behavior.
Yeah.
This is the throwback episode.
this is a topic.
Can we
just
tell
connects
us
to
the throwback
everything.
up? No, never mind. Sorry.
No, that'd be fine. Throwbacks. We
No,
just
it
tell
was just
throwback.
really weird because there was silence after I said that. It was like, okay.
But anyways, I think you're right that like if any of us were back then, lived back then, we would be grown in this environment that kind of throws it upon you. But then that kind of brings up the question is how responsible are you for any of your actions? You know what I mean? And that's why I said yes and no in the beginning, is because it's a mixture. Because part of what you're doing is like literally the most wrong thing you could ever do, and you get some blame for that. But you also get some blame taken off because you were kind of raised in this environment which reinforced it and kind of pushed it onto you. So I'm going to say they are to blame, but less so than someone who today would consciously choose to like own a slave.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's so difficult to talk about this because I feel like I'm playing like God almost by saying like you are morally wrong. You are like, I don't know. It just feels a little judgy, but I think you are to blame, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think at least in a lot of Western, or maybe just all media, or not even media, just like the way we perceive information is we just glorify history so deeply, where we think like the actions of the past are like this thing to be like worshipped in a sense. And I think like we have to recognize that it isn't, and that's not a bad thing. It is not a bad thing at all. So I think just to kind of come to a conclusion, I think you should and can judge people for their past actions, and they are morally culpable for them.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what both of you said. I agree more with what Cole said. I think you can't they are more to blame. Like they're blamed for their actions at the time, but they're also constrained by the time, so that takes some of the blame away. So like I feel like the word like racist, sexist, homophobic, all these words have context in today, and I feel like that's not the same context they are. They're not racist in the way that I see racist today, because racist to me today would be somebody who chooses against the norm.
Oh, because they have a willing kind of choice against. Oh, I see what you're saying.
And the people back there kind of just went with the flow, and
that's an interesting point.
I would say they're not. It's a different way of racist.
Yeah, like the people today are willingly choosing to oppress, whereas the people back then, unfortunately, were raised to oppress.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know. I feel like that's.
I mean, they are choosing to oppress.
I feel like you can justify too much.
Well, no, they're still you still what's it called? Condemn the action. But it's not as condemnable as someone today doing it, because they are choosing against
the norm, I would say.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good wheel spot.
Well,
it's a good wheel stop.
We should have a name for the final topic, because we don't spin a wheel.
Yeah.
Maybe
the last lash.
Yeah, that works. The last lash. Why?
Why the last lash?
I think that's from Quiplash. You know, like the game we play on the Xbox where you type it in. Yeah. But I don't know if we can, for copyright reasons, if we can call it the last lash.
Well, there are like also just other podcasts called the Open Minds. And we're just gonna.
What if we call it the last?
The last Open Mind.
The Last Stand. Wait, that's a movie, isn't it?
I don't know. I feel like we're not going to get something that hasn't been said already. Okay, so my topic is, I actually listened to a podcast on it. It's called the podcast isn't called, but my topic is called the performance of power and how it changes in between different genders. So I think this was kind of prompted by the recent allegations against Andrew Cuomo for sexual harassment, but his kind of sense
of the mayor of New York, right?
He's the governor of New York,
or the governor of New York. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So I think as a society, we have different views of how women and men lead and their performance of power, and how different leadership styles are respected. And I want to have a conversation about it. Cole's squinting his eyes in disagreement.
Well, I know
But-
where you're getting, but keep going.
Okay. But what the podcast said and pointed out in a really interesting way that I definitely agreed with was the fact that tough male leadership is glorified. The idea of like Andrew Cuomo was largely respected during the coronavirus because of like his briefings. Do you guys remember those? Like when
Mhm.
COVID first started, like a lot of people thought like the president was trying to kind of hush things. So people found a lot of solace in hearing the governor speak about COVID so candidly. But he was largely respected for his leadership style, which was very, very harsh. He had very harsh leadership. It was commonplace in his office to get screamed at by top aides and him. It was just completely normalized. And a lot of the times, people worked in his office solely because of their looks. People would get like, there was a story, this woman met him at a bar one night and they were like flirting with each other, and the next week she was working in his office.
Oh my god.
Wow,
Like that type of
that's-
stuff.
That's bad.
That's really bad.
Yeah.
But what the podcast pointed out was this type of leadership that is so glorified for being a strong role model, versus the way what the podcast pointed out was two women, Hillary Clinton and Amy Klobuchar, and versus their styles of leadership and how they're kind of perceived. So just before that, I want to ask you guys: do you guys think that leadership is valued differently because of gender? Like, do you think, or maybe not you personally, because I mean, I don't think most people who hold traditional beliefs start a podcast called The Open Minds. But like, do you think society as a whole
Okay, yeah.
looks at displays of power differently between men and women?
I don't know. I feel like it's kind of the same. Like, but that's like through my lens. But like, I feel like other people could think differently. I feel like for me, it doesn't make a difference. Like, if I see like a strong, like in like a woman who's very like harsh and like that doesn't really make me feel some type of way that's different from what another if it was a man.
Yeah.
But that might just be my lens of looking at it. I don't know.
Yeah, the reason I was squinting my eyes at first is because I was like, personally, I hope I don't see a difference at all, between, the power of a man and the power of a woman. But subconsciously, maybe as a society, we do see little differences. But I'd say maybe even from like in the 70s, let's say 30 years ago, or that's way more than 30 years ago, but 50 years ago in the 70s, I think there was definitely a difference societally of how women were seen as powerful and men were.
Yeah, I think one example that just popped into my head was not power, but like when Serena Williams like was in like a final and she like had like an outburst because she was like, the umpire accused her of cheating.
Yeah,
and like she got angry, like rightfully so.
I remember that.
And people were like, because she's a woman, that's different, and it's like she should like people are condemning those actions because she's a woman, and like I see that now, and I'm thinking traditionally, societally, it does have a difference because like if you see a woman, I feel like people would be like, okay, she's like emotionally unstable or something like that. But personally, I didn't see a problem with that, or personally
With what Serena was doing, you didn't see a problem?
I feel like I think that's fine.
I saw that video and I thought it was like, just as a player of sports, it wasn't very. I understand why she would, because like literally she was getting accused of cheating.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought it was a little rude and kind of out there and kind of sporadic, but not because she's a woman. If a guy was doing it at the same time, I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, please stop yelling at the umpire or whatever they call the guy at tennis, and just play the game. But I totally understand it, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, I understand why they would lash out.
Yeah, I think that got way off track from what I want to actually talk about. Like what I'm talking about is the way that we look at leaders, not just like not necessarily like the way women in the spotlight react to things, but the way we look at leadership, a lot of people made distinctions between the way Hillary Clinton was largely perceived by a lot of people. A lot of people called her horrible, like the B word, like just said like she's just a harsh B word. Where I think where that type of leadership in a man is seen as strong, it's seen as valued, it's seen as respected, and like there was stories of when she first came to the Senate, when she was a senator from New York, like the things that she had to do, unfortunately, to gain some type of like respect. Like there were stories where she had to. I mean, she's a very bright woman, and like there are stories of she had to like sit and get lectured the rules of the Senate by the other senator from New York.
Oh, I
like weird things, like little things to seem insignificant, and to gain some sort of respect in her field. Because I mean, it's just so interesting. Because I mean, there were another stories like where she had her mother, like she had to introduce her mother to the senator as well.
I heard
Like
that too.
weird,
yeah.
like things that are just so arbitrary, but demeaning. I feel like it made her feel like a child, and they're just these tiny little like excerpts of power against women that I don't know. It just feels like so small, but meaningful.
Yeah, it's almost like casual sexism.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this kind of ties back into our conversation about religion a little bit, because like we learned the talk about the genius, the woman, the masculine, the feminine genius. It is a religious. I don't know if it's not a dogma, but it's a doctrine, right? That if you want to explain that.
Yeah, so this is one of the things we learned in Catholic school, which makes me, this is extremely less Catholic, but basically the Catholic Church teaches that males have a masculine genius and females have a feminine genius. And basically, in each of those geniuses, we're assigned 5 characteristics of personality that each woman has in their feminine genius and each male has in their masculine genius. And it's almost like the church is saying, since you're a woman, I don't remember all of the 5 ones, but the church is saying, since you're a woman, you're sensitive, you're inward going, you're emotional,
it's like receptive,
you're receptive,
like comforting.
Yeah, and then since you're a man, you're outward, and I forget the other ones, like strong or something like that.
It was like those types of things that I think have an institutional root in
Sexist.
the way we look at leadership.
Yeah,
and it is sexist, right?
It's absolutely sexist.
And like, another thing that they mentioned is, so you guys know Amy Klobuchar, right? Mm-hmm. Whether she's making the same joke about Donald Trump and climate change on Twitter, that was such a funny
Blizzard
video.
Man, what did she say?
And I'd like to see how your hair
would fare in a blizzard. Have you seen that, Niral?
Science is on my side.
Amy Klobuchar told this joke 20 times at 20 different events about her responding to Donald Trump's tweet or something.
Yeah, so, absolutely hilarious.
There was just no punchline in the joke she was telling. It's just very awkward.
But what we were saying is so she is a senator from Minnesota, right? I think Minnesota.
Yeah.
And she has the most bipartisan support of any senator in the U.S. Senate.
Really?
She won by over 30 points in a largely conservative. Yeah. So people are saying look at there's different exertions of power, and even people like Amy Klobuchar, or there was people saying in her office that she's been directed to be more gentle in her leadership.
Oh, wow.
And those types of things that I think have absolutely no basis in reality. But I do believe that there's a distinction between when a woman is in power, she is called, if she is harsh, she is called a B word, and men are glorified as leaders. And I do think that's real. And I think it's rooted in just the way we perceive different, the way we see men and women in leadership positions.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you guys haven't seen that,
I would agree.
I guess maybe we haven't seen it in our lives.
Yeah.
I think I've largely been surrounded by women leaders in my life.
I was going to say the opposite. I was going to say, unfortunately, I haven't seen many women in such powerful positions like presidency or some offices like that. In offices like that, because you see, in my life, I've only seen men in those power positions. So I don't like I don't know how societally they would react to a woman leader like that. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I think fortunately we have seen change. Like we're all represented in Congress by a woman.
Yeah.
The mayor of Westchester is a woman. I mean, the Secretary of Treasury right now is a woman. The press secretary is a woman. The communications director is a woman.
Vice
The
president.
vice president. I don't know how I admitted that.
Yeah.
This is the biggest.
Yeah.
But I do think like there's some, like my boss at work is a woman, and things like that. Like it's small, but it has a lasting impact. Like we went from a time where like women didn't go to college to now like I don't know. I think like those types of things are. I think the female gentleness that has been so societally like demanded is. I think it has lasting impacts on how we see leadership.
Yeah, I'd say that there isn't none of it now. I think you kind of convinced me a little bit that there is a little, but that we've come a long way. I mean, there's more to go there's more to do from here, but that we've come a long way in it, but there's still a little bit. But I don't know, where's the line between when you think society doesn't like someone because of a subconscious kind of systematic bias against women versus just they don't like the person? Where do you draw that line? Like Hillary Clinton, how do we know that she's being treated unfairly by society because she's a woman?
I think it's because she was probably one of the largest women in American politics. Like she was the embodiment of feminism and female leadership. Mm-hmm. And I think like, yeah, there were people that just didn't like her. People hated her. And I think that some of that has to do with her being a woman. I do. Like, I think like people were threatened by strong female leadership. And I don't know if you've seen like a lot of, I mean, there are interviews with people talking about Hillary Clinton, and there's just overt sexism of saying like, I think women should have a more reserved role in society. I think women should be at home. Like even women saying that, like, I hate to quote, like, I'm sure a lot of these videos are designed to get the worst of people because they're like entertaining, like their purpose is entertainment. Like, have you guys ever seen the videos of like people interviewing people at the RNC rallies?
Yeah.
Like, how can you tell me that's not overt sexism? Like of people saying like women should be at home, and I think a lot of that is why Hillary Clinton was so widely despised, was because of her sex. Yeah,
and that makes, I mean, from what you're describing to me, I don't know much about this Hillary Clinton and her past life, but from what you're describing to me, it does sound like that her perception has involved some sort of sexism and double standard that's against women there. But I think it's very hard to know when we've completed, you know, the goal of equality subconsciously. You know what I mean? Like, how do we know people don't like a certain woman because of her gender or because of how she is? You know, I'm just saying it's hard to read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a difficult distinction to make. But I see where you're coming from, the Hillary Clinton aspect of it.
Sorry to cut you off. Is it? Like, I feel like when there's no substantive reason to hate somebody, you know, like, I hate to say, like, maybe it's not because of solely their gender, but it's hard to say that that's not an influence on it.
So you think no one's justified in not liking Hillary Clinton?
If that's what you think I just said, then you're not listening to what I'm saying.
Well, I'm listening, but I'm just saying that, like, where do you draw the line? Because now we're talking about society doesn't like Hillary Clinton because she's a woman. And then... No,
I'm not saying, like, I'm saying that there are like sexist forces at play, and I think that was a part of Hillary Clinton's likability. I'm not saying all people hated her because she was a woman. That'd be stupid to say. Like,
I'm kind of just confused at the point.
Yeah, I don't know what you're getting at. If you're not saying that,
I'm not saying all people did, but I'm saying there were people that probably did.
I'll agree with that. Yeah, because there are sexist people.
Yeah. But I don't know. I would agree with Cole. There's a distinction that's really tough to make, because how can I say, like, I may not like Hillary Clinton because of her politics, but that may come off as, like, just because she's a woman, you know? So it's a difficult distinction to make, but there are probably some people, like you're saying, who just were overtly sexist.
Yeah, like, I mean, obviously, not everybody who hated Hillary Clinton here because she was a woman, like no duh. But, like, I'm saying people, like, women face innate hatred because of their sex more than men do.
Oh,
That makes sense.
absolutely. Oh, yes, absolutely. There are
Yeah.
far more sexist people who are sexist against women. I mean, and we see that every day in our lives, and it's subliminal. You know what I mean? Like how we're talking about Hillary Clinton. Like some people might not like her. Like they might not be admitting to themselves that they are sexist. You know, about against women or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like what my mind went to as soon as you said that was like the movement against Karens. I'm sure there are men who like just as overtly like racist and harsh and like that, like what typical Karen behavior, like we call that. I'm sure there are men who do that too, but it just we don't brand them as such being such bad people. You know,
Is a Karen figure sexist?
I don't know. That's what I was
Do we think?
thinking about.
Do we think it's sexist? It could be.
Now that I'm thinking about it,
I just thought.
like,
It was
do you think like
probably.
there's like men who act the same way, but they're like their actions are viewed as more like respectable? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I know though
I don't really know, but I won't rule it out of proportion.
I know though there have been like discussions of like people always say like a male Karen, or like they call it like a Mark or like a Brian or something like that. But
Just name our parents.
yeah, those are both of our parents. But I don't know. I guess now that I think about the Karen example though, like I'm sure there are probably men who do similar things, and
I don't know. It just came to me as one of those
That's
examples, but I feel like I don't know. I like through my lens, I don't see it differently, you know. But I'm sure other people do.
yeah.
Which is why I'm having a tough time to connect with
Me
this.
too. Yeah, same thing for me. I hope to say I don't see it differently. I don't think I do.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
It's like a difficult conversation to have because it is. I think it's a little like a little abstract. Definitely not arbitrary, but it's like an abstract conversation to have because like there's such limited examples of leadership that aren't like so like polarized in politics, so you can like kind of justify everything based on their political views. But it's something to keep in mind, and like I just wish like there was a more tangible effort to think about it more.
Yeah,
I think it's fascinating that the United States hasn't had a woman president yet.
I agree.
It's fascinating.
Like every
I also think it's
like
fascinating
every
that
other country has.
I think it's also fascinating that every single one has been white.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, like
Well, besides one.
yeah, okay.
Well, but Obama was half white, he was biracial.
We're still
But it's
still
still. I mean, it's still fascinating to me that we've only had one, diverse president.
It's incredible. Because like India, like my prime example would be India had like its first woman president in like the first 30 years of conception.
and like the
Wow.
female like equality rating in India is like vastly
Exactly,
lower
that's
than
what I'm
the States.
saying. Like I don't understand why this country has never had that figure.
Yeah, I don't know. Tulsi Gabbard, president 2024.
Or when Kamala Harris kills Joe Biden. But yeah, I don't really know what the final idea is, but like I just it's like let's think about it and try to make just a little bit more of an effort to recognize the influence of sex in power and exertion of power, in any other real world examples that aren't just like Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
I think it might be a good thoughts on the cast spot.
Right.
Thoughts on the cast. Thoughts on the cast. Thoughts on the cast.
So, thoughts on my topic, religion, all that?
Yeah. What I got from it was the institutional religion it does a lot of good things, but also has a lot of bad parts, and it needs to modernize quickly in order to broaden the good it does and remove the kind of bad parts that it perpetuates.
I definitely changed my mind from being like 100% anti-institutional religion to kind of I think we should recognize the good in religious leaders and their actions, but I think we should also pressure religious leaders to make a more tangible effort to do good in the world and have visible like results of their actions, and just kind of move away from the hatred that religion can bring, and like kind of it's just so paradoxical that like there's so much bad that comes from a force that's supposed to operate just and like perpetuate so much good.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd say my biggest takeaway is like, let's just stop caring so much about the details of religion and trying to explore those, and let's start to actually practice what we preach. Let's start to live the values that we talk about all the time. And number one with that is just treating everybody equally and with love. And that's what I say we start doing, and we stop, caring about going to mass on Sunday. Well, not that I'm trying to tell people what to do. I just mean like
stop listening to arbitrary rules and like just like perform the general idea of a religion, which is just to be better people.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, well, if you want to keep going to mass on Sunday, like keep going. I just mean like one of the most important things we can ever do is just treat everybody with the most love we can and with respect and just being a good person. So,
yeah. So, what did you guys think of my topic about how we judge past people with present morals?
So I kind of came to the conclusion that people are bound by past morals to a certain degree, where they can maintain sovereignty over their actions. So people are judged to the point of like where they can control the hatred of their actions. I think after that it's unfair, but we should still recognize them as wrong, because I think recognizing that historical figures have like done and perpetuated bad things is good, because it the idea of past perfection is wrong and dangerous, I think. And I do think that like this is like the justification can be dangerous, because like I think once you start justifying like racism just because of a time period, it can lead to all past actions being justified, which is not a good thing.
Yeah, I'd say I kind of took away that it's just not really that clear, the answer to this, what I would say is a very big and important philosophical question. To me, it comes off as a mixture. I don't think it's justified in any case, but I think you're partly to blame, and you're also, some of that blame is taken away only because of your environment. And the worst scenario would be, like you were saying, you kind of opened me up that maybe that our definition of racism is like willingly oppressing other people, you know what I mean? Which isn't not what they were doing, but the founding fathers, I mean. But yeah, I've just kind of realized that what people do today is worse. Well, I don't know, because slavery's terrible. So now I'm really, listen, I just took away that they are to blame and they are also not to blame at the same time, but they are to blame as well. So
yeah,
I don't know if that makes any sense. It's so complicated. It's such a complicated question. So, I guess that's why I have such a convoluted answer.
Yeah, well, what I got away from it was that our view of the past is so glorifying. Like we godify, as we use founding fathers and all that, and they did bad things, and we need to accept the bad things that they did and be able to judge them based on those actions and how they were as people, and understand that we today have come a long way from that, and we need to keep on going.
Interesting. What do you guys think about my topic of feminine leadership and the perception of power by sex?
I just kind of, learned like, let's just stop caring about what gender someone is. Let's just start looking at people as a human being, you know what I mean? Like, and start recognizing the double standard that may exist in ourselves subconsciously, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the subconscious bias that we need to recognize is very evident in the examples that you brought up. I think Hillary Clinton was a great example. I did have a tough time connecting to it, but I think going forward, it's a very important thing that we need to recognize our subconscious bias against women in power, or against their attitude in their power positions.
Mm-hmm. What I kind of learned from you two was it changes based on like your leader's example of leadership. So I think look at like the leaders in current American politics and also international politics. They did not have examples of female leadership when they were learning how to be leaders. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Mitch McConnell did not see a woman vice president. Joe Biden did not see a woman, Janet Yellen, leading the Treasury Department. Like, those are just things that they didn't have the luxury of recognizing as leadership. So of course, or not of course, because I feel like that justifies it. But by nature, like they don't exemplify that idea of feminine leadership in the way they operate. So I think that is going to be very generational, in the idea that, like, when our generation inevitably takes up leadership positions, if Joe Biden doesn't live to be 180 and Mitch McConnell never, dissolves back into the ground again, then, like, I think our perception of women in power will change because we've seen it. We've seen it. We've grown up with it, and I think that's inevitably a good thing, and an interesting generational distinction. So yeah, that's all for today. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. You can find me on Instagram at jake.lorenz. You can find Cole on Instagram at cole.2.kelly. And you can find Niral nowhere because he doesn't have a life. Feel free to follow our podcast Instagram at The Open Minds Pod and our TikTok at The Open Minds. Thanks, everyone. We hope to see you next week. And remember to always keep an open mind.
In a world that's too closed-minded, we're here to help you open yours, 'cause we're the